thing.
Here?
Yeah. He's very unhappy. And I think he's will need my help. There, I told you.
Oh, please.
You want to tell a story? You are tired, right? You can wait a minute. And when you are ready, you can begin.
I look very strangerous, I know.
You want to tell me something important, that's all?
I don't know. Why? What this happened with me? It's what? It's what?
Okay, calm down. Can you tell me your name, sir?
I'm so sorry, but they say that I had to speak to you. Just you, so home, you can help me. Okay, thank you for waiting. Now I'm ready to begin. Yesterday morning,
I was in my office at the bank when a man came to see me. He's a famous man. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you his name because he's one of the British royal family. He asked me to borrow £50,000. I was very surprised and hesitant, but he said that someone was going to give him a lot of money on Monday, so he could give back the £50,000 to me then. But he needed the money now. I said he needed to leave something expensive with us, and then he gave me the Emeral crown and definitely said me be careful, didn't tell any of my friends or family about it. But then I started to feel worried. One night last week, somebody went into a bank not far from us in Threadneedle Street and took £100,000 from the building. I was unhappy about leaving the Emerald crown at the bank, so last night I took it home with me. I left work at about 6 o'clock. I closed the door of the bank behind me and looked carefully up and down Threadneedle Street. In the dark, nobody saw me put the black box under my coat. It was, of course, a cold, snowy evening and the carriage drove along very slowly. There was only one man in the carriage with me, and he didn't see the box. I know. I had it under my coat all the time. I felt bleed when I arrived home. I ran upstairs to my office and put the black box into the desk there. I locked the desk with a key and then went over to the window. Just then, I saw somebody in the front of the garden. I couldn't see his face. He wore a hat and a long coat. When he saw me at the window, he suddenly walked away. I remember one thing about him. When he walked, one of his legs moved strangely. I then ran quickly downstairs and out into the garden. Say hello, who's there? I looked in the front and back garden, but nobody was there. But before I continue with my story, I must tell you about my family and all the different people in the house. My family isn't very big. My wife died 10 years ago and I have got only one son, Arthur. I'm sorry to say it, but he isn't a very good son. When my wife died, Arthur was the most important thing for me. I wanted to make him happy, so when he asked for something, I gave it to him. I was wrong to do it, I know that now. When he was 18, he started going to a gambling club. He made friends there, all rich men with a lot of time and money. With these new friends, he learned to play cards, but Of course, he often lost. He came to me nearly every week and asked me to borrow money, and I always say yes. There was one friend at the club with a lot of power over Arthur, an older man, Brunwell. When Brunwell first came to our house, I liked him. He's tall, handsome man. When he walks into a room, everybody looks at him. For me, there's something strange about him, and my Mary thinks it too. Mary is my niece. When my brother died 5 years ago, she came to live with us. She is a wonderful girl, and she does everything for me at home. I call her my right hand. Only one thing makes me unhappy. Arthur loves Mary very much. Last year, he asked Mary to marry him, but she said no. I felt very sorry about this because Arthur needs a good wife and Mary is the most wonderful girl. Now, where was I? Yes, of course, there are the maids in the house too. Lucy is one of them, our most important maid. She came to us 2 months ago. We are very happy with her, but the only thing is, she is very beautiful and she has many admirers. Sometimes they came to the kitchen door in the evening. Well, that's everybody at home. Come back to my story. After dinner, Lucy brought in some coffee for Arthur, Mary, and me. Over coffee, I told Arthur and Mary all about the Emeral crowd. Arthur and Mary was very surprised when I said, "The famous crowd is upstairs in my deck." Of course, they wanted to see it, but I said no. Arthur was very worried about house thieves, but I told him everything is alright because there is a good lock on the deck. But he laughed and said any keys opened that deck. He's opened it with the key to attic when he was a child. I didn't listen much to Arthur. He often talked wisely about things. After about 10 minutes, Arthur came to my room. He asked, can he borrow some of my money? He need £200 this time. I felt very angry. He wanted my money for the second time in the week. When I said no, he started to cry. He then walked slowly to the door and closed it angrily behind him.
Mr. Murder, what happened next? Before I got into the room, I looked into all the different houses. Everything was fine. The animal crowd was there, but I was surprised.
I found Mary next to a window in the hall. She quickly closed the window when she saw me. She said she thought it was very unsafe when Lucy had been with one of her admirers again in the kitchen door. I was angry. I said, Mary, I would talk to Lucy in the morning. Then I did not forget to ask her about closing all the door, and for sure, she did it. I went upstairs to bed. Well, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly opened my eyes when I heard a strange noise. Everything was quiet for a minute or two, but then I heard somebody in my office. I went to the office. In the half light, I could see Arthur. He had no shoe, the emerald crown in his hands, and he pulled at it wildly. He wanted to break it, I think. I cried and asked him what he was doing with the crown. He was thief. I ran over and looked at the crown. One of the corners of it, with 3 emeralds on it, was missing. I asked Arthur about it, but he said he did not understand and I was wrong. Suddenly, Arthur said he was not going to say one more word about any of this. He was going to leave the house in the morning and never come back. I cried and said that he was going to leave this house in the hands of the police. Then Arthur said, call the police. By this time, everybody in the house were out of bed. Mary ran into the room. When she saw the crowd and Arthur's face, he understood everything. With a cry, she fell suddenly into a chair. I called for one of the maids and told her, "Get the police." When 2 police officers arrived at the door, Arthur looked white and ill. Early this morning, the police took Arthur away. I went with him and then talked to the head officer at the police station. He couldn't understand the case.
Give me your name and address, and so I can quickly here to the Baker Street. I badly need your help, Mr. Holmes. Last night I lost everything. The emeralds, my son, and my good name. You must help me to get them back.